Moderator of NBC's Meet the Press, Kristen Welker. Kristen, you just spoke to President Trump about the controversy surrounding Waltz and Hegseth's group chat on Signal. What did he tell you?
Jose, in a phone interview that lasted just over 10 minutes, President Trump was defiant in defending Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who played key roles in that Signal text chain in which attack plans were discussed. The president calling the matter fake news and arguing the strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen were successful. Now, notably, Mr. Trump said he had read the group text exchange. I pressed the president about reports that he'd been advised to fire Mike Waltz. He responded, "I don't fire people because of fake news and because of witch hunts." Jose?
And Kristen, you also asked the president about tariffs, those already in place and those about to take effect. What were your key takeaways?
Jose, I asked President Trump if the 25% tariffs he just announced on cars and auto parts are permanent. His response was absolutely they're permanent. And I pressed him on reports he urged auto CEOs not to raise prices. The president telling me, quote, "No, I never said that. I couldn't care less if they raise prices because people are going to start buying American-made cars." And Jose, I asked the president about his desire to annex Greenland. Mr. Trump saying there's a good possibility it could be done without military force, but added, "I don't take anything off the table." Jose?
What an insane series of remarks. There were 3 or 4 separate conversations that happened there, each one crazier than the last. Let's break all of these down, and we can start with the fact that Trump claimed the Signal group chat is, quote, a witch hunt and fake news, even though everybody in the group chat has corroborated and said, yes, it did happen. And they even had to walk their statements back multiple times. They said it wasn't classified, then they said it might be sort of classified. I mean, everyone in the group chat admitted that it's not fake news. Trump is really trying hard to deflect, and the longer he waits to hold anyone accountable, to fire anyone, the longer the story drags on. I read an article earlier today that if Trump would have fired somebody right off the bat, I mean, he fires people all the time, that's nothing new to him, then the story would have probably died down a little bit, but now we're in this weird, eerie spot where we know we have incompetent people at the highest levels. They just showed us that, but no one was actually held accountable, so now the story is just being strung along and it continues to go and go and go, but it should be that way. If the roles were reversed, Fox News would not let this story die for 8 years. I say we do the same thing. We continue to say Trump hires incompetent people. I also want to talk about the tariffs because Trump said that he doesn't care. In fact, he hopes automakers raise prices. So the president said he couldn't care less if foreign automakers raise prices after he announced he imposed 25% tariffs on all foreign-made automobiles. Asked what his recent message was to motor industry CEOs and whether he had warned them against raising prices, Trump said, "The message is congratulations. If you make your car in the United States, you're going to make a lot of money. If you don't, you're going to probably have to come to the United States because if you make your car in the United States, there is no tariff." I always want to point out that there are ways to use tariffs, like, for example, allowing a 1-year grace period for automakers to actually build the plants, to import the items, to do what they need, but Trump's not doing that. He's doing this weird push and pull game where he's just trying to get leverage. He's trying to use the power of our economy to get leverage, because the reality is tariffs are one of the only things Trump can do without congressional approval. He can just unilaterally apply tariffs. That's why he loves it. He loves having the executive power. When pressed on if he told CEOs not to raise prices, he said, "No, I never said that. I couldn't care less if they raise prices because people are going to start buying American-made cars." Trump continued, quote, "I couldn't care less. I hope they raise their prices because if they do, people are going to buy American-made cars. We have plenty." I'm not sure if we have plenty. Asked if he was concerned about car prices going up, Trump said, "No, I couldn't care less." Okay, now we're getting repetitive. He said the same thing a few times, but this is a moment worth pausing on because it's not really a contradiction. That's putting it softly. It's a full-on collapse of the economic argument that Trump's been selling for years. He's been saying that tariffs, number one, bring in more revenue, but now he's admitting that it will inherently raise the prices. He's saying that. It undermines the entire argument that he's made. So not only is Trump aware that tariffs raise prices, but now he's trying to shift the blame onto the people who build and buy the products. But, before we jump into this Greenland part, because this part is very, very interesting, there's been a lot of Greenland news this week, I do just want to say that Trump is ignoring the reality of how manufacturing works, not only in the United States, but across the globe and between Canada. American automakers currently rely on foreign-made parts heavily. They heavily rely on foreign-made parts, and you can't just slap together a car in Michigan using nothing but American steel and wishful thinking, and you can't do that on April 4th, which I believe is the tariff initiation day, or April 3rd. Either way, it's next week. You can't do that in a week. Like I said earlier, if you gave a grace period, maybe you'd have a chance, but again, the global supply chain is very complex and it's been built over decades. Even if you gave manufacturers or automakers 12 months as a grace period, it still might not even be enough. So when Trump puts tariffs on imported parts, he's raising the cost of making cars in America too. One more time. When Trump is putting tariffs on these imported parts, he's raising the cost of making cars in America as well. So it's completely contradictory. And then secondly, the idea that people will just buy American as prices skyrocket assumes a level of flexibility that I just don't think most working families have in America. And you'd think that the Republicans would know this. They ran their entire campaign off the back of the economy and immigration. They even linked the two a lot. But of course, the Republicans don't actually know anything about the economy. It's all just dangerously misinformed what they're doing. And the worst part is Trump promised to lower prices on day one. I know a lot of people who don't know shit about politics, and they voted because they just saw prices go up. They thought Trump would lower them, and I told them, don't vote Trump, don't vote Trump. A lot of people still did, and now they got hoodwinked. They got completely scammed. So he's gone from promising lower prices to outright cheering on higher prices. He's blaming others for inflation. He's hoping American companies keep the prices the same and take quarter-over-quarter losses, but then he says he doesn't care either way. It's all just incoherent, and that takes us on to the last segment where they talked about Greenland. Let me just refresh.
Asked the president about his desire to annex Greenland. Mr. Trump saying there's a good possibility it could be done without military force, but added, I don't take anything off the table.
I don't understand how people should understand how crazy that is right there. There is a chance of military force, and he's not taking it off the table. And in his mind, that's using leverage or not ruling things out. But dude, Greenland and Denmark, by extension, they are our allies. They have been for a while. Why is military force anything that is ever being considered? It also undermines NATO, undermines Article 5. It actually strengthens and legitimizes Russia's strategy of grabbing territory. But beyond all of that, the wording of it is just crazy. He says there's a chance we can do it without military force. What do you mean, man? What do you mean there's a chance? I keep using this sort of analogy, but Denmark and Greenland have denied the Trump administration's advances over and over, yet J.D. Vance keeps forcing his way into Greenland and giving these speeches that are very dismissive and dangerous and rude, and then Greenland rejects the advances again, and the Trump admin just cannot take a hint, you know? It's a common theme with Trump. So I guess to end this off, Trump is not being a leader right now. He's got nobody around him to stop him with the tariff shit like he had in his first term. And right now, his authoritarian instincts are to use executive power to cause as much change as possible. And one thing that the executive branch has that you can do is apply tariffs to any country, and 25% is the highest you can go. That's why you see the number 25% a lot. And then you can do that in different iterations. But yeah, Trump is trying to flex his executive power, and it's not good. It's not good for the economy. The stock market's tanking. The GDP may contract for the first quarter, so we'll see what happens. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out.